It is 6:30, and I'm going to call this meeting to order. This meeting of the Denville Township Board of Education is being held in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act. Notice of this meeting was provided to the Daily Record and/or the Star Ledger of Morris County, has been delivered to the Township Clerk, and has been posted on the bulletin board of the Board of Education office and at each of the school buildings in the district. Roll call, please.
Mr. Capello?
Present.
Mrs. Wagner? Here. Mr. Cass?
Here.
Mr. Kim?
Here.
Dr. Aruna Jatasan? Dr. Moore?
Here.
Mr. Anderson?
Here. And Dr. Forte, we do not have a need for executive session to start. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, and we move on to the Pledge of Allegiance. Please rise. And as we all know, we've got our strategic planning meeting this evening, starting at 7:30 p.m. with the public. We'll move on to superintendent's comments.
Just a brief comment tonight. Our Valley View girls soccer team won the county championship. That was great. And the presentation that we have scheduled for the 22nd, which is next Tuesday, with the Morris County Sheriff, we are working on that. It may have to be changed. It will not be the Morris County Sheriff. We're working with Homeland Security. I'm not sure of the date yet. We're going to get that ironed out quickly. And that's it for me.
Thank you, Dr. Forte. And move on to assistant superintendent's comments. Dr. Cullis.
Congratulations to our gifted and talented teacher and program coordinator, Jess Laniza, for completing the gifted and talented certification program through Montclair University. And this concludes assistant superintendent's report.
Thank you, Dr. Cullis, and congratulations. Business administrator's comments. Mrs. Gorowski.
We have great news. The district was approved for a grant to do the Lakeview HVAC. We will be doing the all-purpose room, the gym, and the cafeteria with a grant approved by the New Jersey Program Grant through the New Jersey Clean Energy Act. The grant is in the amount of $2,002,000.
That is awesome news. Thank you very much, Mrs. Gorowski. That is great news, very exciting, and appreciate the work that you and the team put into submitting for that grant.
It's about how much percentage? Around 80% of the project, something like that?
The grant was submitted for $2.9 million, and they will be awarding us 75% of the grant.
Excellent. Thank you very much. All right, we're going to move on to our open public discussion, agenda items only. This portion of the meeting is open to any individuals for the purpose of addressing resolutions on this agenda or matters that they find important to the Board of Education and is governed by Board Policy 0167. Prior to making a comment, members of the public are required to state their names, addresses, and the subject matter of the comment. Comments are limited to 3 minutes per person. No participant may speak more than once on the same topic until others who wish to speak on that subject or topic have been heard. Comments made by members of the public may or may not be responded to by the board or district administration. Any response that is provided will be made at the end of the public comment period after all comments have been heard. The board asks that members of the public be courteous and mindful of the rights of other individuals when speaking. Students and employees have specific legal rights afforded to them by the laws of New Jersey. Therefore, comments regarding specific students and employees will not be responded to by the board. The board bears no responsibility nor will it be liable for any comments made by members of the public. Members of the public should consider their comments in light of their legal rights of those affected or identified in their comments and be aware that they are legally responsible and liable for their comments. All statements, questions, or inquiries shall be directed to the board president. And with that, I will open up our first public comment section at 6:34 p.m. And just as a reminder to everybody, we are in the process of working through our policy approval for public comments to be made virtually. So any individuals that happen to be watching us live stream in the near future, we will be able to accept comments from the public via online, but at this time we are not. And seeing no one come forward, I'm going to close our first open public comment section at 6:35 PM. And we're going to move on to old business, no action to be taken. Mr. Capello, would you mind moving us through?
I would be happy to. At the next meeting, I or someone else will be moving items A, B, and C. They include A, reports from October 2022, October 2022 of Treasurer of School Monies and Board Secretary. Also B, education reports, the report of student enrollment for October 2022, the report of the Health Office, October 2022, and an HIB case, LV.22.23.04. And finally, the minutes from the following meetings, work session and executive session meeting of October 10th, 2022, and our regular session and executive session meetings 1 and 2, October 24th, 2022.
Thank you, Mr. Capello. Any questions, comments? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to new business action to be taken. Mrs. Wagner, if you wouldn't mind moving us through, and I would just point out that on the yellow piece of paper, we do have one item under personnel for addendum.
Thank you. So if there are no objections, I would like to move under personnel, items 1 through 7. And as Mr. Anderson pointed out, items 1 is A through I, including the addendum, which are new hires, resignations, retroactive approval, extracurricular stipend, and a congratulations to Mrs. Zeleny. Am I pronouncing that correctly? Zelny, who's moving across the God. We also have leave of absence and some personnel matters in numbers 2 through 7.
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Wagner and Mr. Kim. Any questions, comments? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Capello,
Yes.
Mrs. Wagner,
Yes.
Mr. Cass,
Yes.
Mr. Kim,
Yes.
Dr. Moore,
Yes.
Mr. Anderson.
Yes. And under finance, Mr. Kim, would you mind moving us through?
Sure, I'd be happy to. Under Section B, Finance, I motion that we approve tonight, number 1, to retroactively approve the agreement with Behavior Therapy Associates for district consultation services, as well as number 2, to approve the agreement with the Uncommon Thread for November 2022 to June 2023.
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Kim and Mr. Cass. Any questions, comments? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Capello,
Yes.
Mrs. Wagner,
Yes.
Mr. Cass,
Yes.
Mr. Kim,
Yes.
Dr. Moore,
Yes.
Mr. Anderson.
Yes. And moving on to operations, Mr. Cass.
I have one item to move under operations, number 2, buildings and grounds. I'm asking the board to retroactively approve Cortez Service LLC to power wash outside walls, soffits, and windows, and paint exterior plaster walls at Riverview School at a cost of $9,120. This is in place of resolution number 4A1I from our July 18th, 22 meeting.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Cass and Mr. Kim. Any questions? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Capello,
Yes.
Mrs. Wagner,
Yes.
Mr. Cass,
Yes.
Mr. Kim,
Yes.
Dr. Moore,
Yes.
Mr. Anderson.
Yes. All right, we'll move on to our new new business, no action to be taken, and I'll send it back over to Mrs. Wagner for personnel, please.
Sure. At the next meeting, myself or someone from the board will be asking to move items 1 and 2. I'm sure it'll grow between now and then. It's resignations, new hires, home instruction, attending in service, and a leave of absence.
So I had a question. On number 1A, to provide home instruction during the 2022-23 school year as needed. We have any kind of, I mean, I know it's hard to do, but is there any kind of anticipated need? Like, you know, how do we determine what the need is, or how do we determine how much that's going to look, what that's going to look like?
Which resolution are you on?
1A, for the home instruction. I'm just trying to get a handle on as needed, like, you know, how do we kind of
No,
gauge what that might look
we
like?
really don't know anything because we don't know who the people are yet. Like if a kid gets sick or breaks his leg, breaks his or her leg, you're wigged. Why? Because you know.
No,
That's the answer. The real answer is we have to just have like a pool of people ready, approved to do it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I guess what I'm trying to get at is, so like, just so that for the public, so, you know, what does home instruction include? What kind of subjects?
So home instruction is for the core subjects in school. Like, for example, I'll give you an example of what happened to me when I was a kid. I broke my leg, so I was home for a little while back then. It wasn't like they put those braces on you. You're in those long casts, right? And they didn't want you walking around the school, so you're home, and they would come and do 5 hours of bedside instruction for whatever, like 2 or 3 weeks. So basically, that's what we do now. Is if you miss school because of a medical reason, there could be other reasons too. We will send somebody to the house, or it could be virtual now too, and it would be for your core subjects. And it depends on a couple circumstances on the amount of time you get.
Okay. So like for like specials, like in middle school, like so there is that, are they just excused? I mean, we're obviously not going to be doing like home ec or like those home instruction. Like, would those just be excused for the student?
So I believe legally we don't have to do it, but sometimes we do if we can, like try to help somebody out by doing some of those related arts.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Capello. Any other questions?
I have one.
Please.
We have a lot of great extracurricular activities for the kids. I don't recall seeing the Viking Connections before. Talking about maybe, does anybody have any details? I'm guessing that we're talking about the history of the Vikings and their contribution to exploration in the northern
it's,
areas of, Greenland and Scandinavia, as well as that they found Viking ruins, I believe, in Minnesota.
It sounds like a cool club, but
not
that's
too
not
long
what
away.
this is. If we're going to do that one, I would do it because I like that stuff.
Yeah, I'm sure I'd be a better
call you
citizen
in,
if
too.
they had that when I was
Yeah.
in school. But yeah, I missed the show, The Vikings. It was just a tremendous, fascinating show, especially the historical part of it with their explorations.
This used to be called Peer Buddies. It's something that we do with the older kids in the middle school that work with the younger kids in the middle school. And really has nothing to do with the Vikings other than the name of the school's the Vikings.
Maybe something you put on the back burner with the strategic plan is that we have a extracurricular course.
Yeah, that's your first topic you want to talk about right
the
there.
the real Vikings, yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Cass. Good question. Any other questions, comments? All right. Seeing none, we'll move on to instruction and program. No action to be taken. Mr. Capello, please.
Sure. I or someone else at the next meeting under instruction and program will be moving items 1 through 4. They include, as of now, teachers to attend the NJASA Texpo in Atlantic City, to virtually attend a seminar called Reducing Disruptive Behaviors While Increasing Self-Regulation. We also have will be for approval for a student at the Grove City College to observe during the 2023 school year, and another student from Rider University to observe at Riverview, And finally, a high school student to observe at Valley View.
Any questions? Dr. Forte or Dr. Collins, just a quick question on number 4. I know we've had this over time where high school students come observe. I think it's great to have them come back, particularly if it's alumni of the school. Just, is that part of their program, or where does that fit in?
It is part of a program. So if they're at Knowles, there's like a future teachers or psychology. This one actually is a music program. So it's part of her advanced music program that she needs to come and observe. But some of them are from VOTEC. All the college ones are part of the program, but we get students from CCM and VOTEC and also the high school to come observe because of their programs.
Great, thank you.
You mind if I ask? Do we ever have a situation where we have more students that want to come and serve than we have room for? Has that ever been an issue?
That hasn't been. When they bring the larger classes from Morris County, VOTEC, then we arrange it. We have a whole schedule and the teacher comes with them and, it's like many students are in the building at one time, but all across classes. And they usually do right now they're doing Lakeview for that.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions, comments? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to policy revisions. I'll read through this. At our next meeting, someone will move the following policy revisions for second reading and adoption. Policy 5512, harassment, intimidation, and bullying, HIB, revised. And the second one is policy 0167, public participation in board meetings, revised. That was the policy that I referred to in the beginning of the meeting at our public comment section. That part of that revision is to allow for virtual comments from individuals who are not physically in person at the meeting. So that will be planned to be second reading and adoption at our next board meeting. Any questions or comments for those two policies? Dino, I see you looking it up. Is there anything?
No, I just wanted to double check one thing. I know we had, sorry, if, bear with me one second. Yeah, no, I guess the only question I had was, I know we had talked about the cameras last time, that was not going to be a requirement, and I don't see that in here, so that's, right, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's out now, Steve, the camera requirement for the public comment, like we took that,
Right, they do not have to be on camera.
okay. I
But
mean,
they do have to use the app if they want to be interactive. That's the big thing everybody has to realize. You can't just call like from a phone or, from a house phone or your cell phone. You have to use the Google Meet app if you want to interact. There's no other way to interact unless you do that.
And the comments will be someone who unmutes themselves, is called on, and they'll actually read the statement, correct? It's not in the chat or anything like that, right?
Right, the chat feature will be turned off. The moderator, who is typically Cindy, but Cindy's also training other people, will allow people to unmute, say their thing, and then mute again.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments on those two policies? Okay, move on to finance. Mr. Kim, please.
Sure. Either myself or someone else would be moving Section D Finance. Number 1 is, which will be a list of checks. And number 2 is to approve the Pay School Central application to manage payment transactions for the district.
Any questions on anything under finance?
Quick question, the Pay School app, is this a change to how we've done it previously with these fees? How they get paid?
This is the first time we will be doing a electronic payment plan, we've been doing checks to pay for Chromebooks or milk or any other activities to the schools.
Okay, so that's like an ACH draft, like it's a
It will be-
digital draft?
Correct, it will be an electronic payment.
Okay. So parents don't, there's no fee to the parents?
Yes, there will be.
Okay. Do you have a fee? Do we know what that is?
From $0 to $50 will be a $1.95 fee. Anything above $50 will be a 3% charge.
Sorry, is there any fee to us, or, I mean, the fee, they're monetizing based on the fee that, the convenience fee, basically? That's the only fee? I mean, it's the only way they get paid?
That will be the only fee, yes.
Okay, okay.
Correct.
The-
And they can also do a check as well if they want to. They don't have to use the app.
Oh, a physical check, and then they wouldn't
Correct.
have to pay the fee?
Correct.
Gotcha.
Damaris, I noticed in the attachments that there will be a setup fee for the district as well as annual fees, roughly averaging about $5,000 to $6,000 a year. Is that correct?
Not $5,000 now. There was an initial fee just to set up the program. That was the quote that you saw. There was an initial implementation fee.
Okay, the way I read it on the document, it said that there were the one-time fee, which would be $2,000, and then another $5,000 that is part of like an annual fee. So I can double check that, but yeah.
I'll confirm that for the next board meeting, but I do not remember that it was a recurring fee of $5,000. I'll confirm that again.
Yeah, if you wouldn't mind including me on that when you find it. Thank you.
Thank you, Damaris. Any other questions, comments? Move on to operations. Mr. Cass, no action to be taken at our next meeting. If you wouldn't mind going through it, appreciate it.
Will do. At the next meeting, I'm going to ask the board to approve a number of real important upgrades to our schools. Item 2.1 is to approve the submission and acceptance of the school and small business ventilation and energy efficiency verification and repair program. HVAC replacement, new system program grant through the New Jersey Clean Energy Program, application number 68355, in the amount of $2,233,125 for the projects listed below. The work must be completed and supporting documentation received by TRC by November 7th, 2023. So the three projects that are involved are at Lakeview Elementary School HVAC, Lakeview Elementary School All-Purpose Room HVAC, and Lakeview Elementary School Gym HVAC. And I point out to the few members of the public that are here and maybe listening in that this is, again, we've done millions of dollars in school projects, maintenance upgrades through grants, not utilizing taxpayer money or referendums to get these very important projects done. Besides the upgrades, there's long-term energy efficiency too. We reduce our electrical costs. Item 2.2 is to approve the attached rental agreement for the Kids to Pros Camp for the summer of 2023 at Riverview School for $10,000 for 3 rooms. Item 2.3 is to approve Morris Knolls High School to borrow the Valley View Wrestling mat for their tournament on December 17th, 2022. Number 2.4, I'm going to ask the board to approve the following projects to be completing during 2022-2023. These are all being done using maintenance reserves funds. So here's another method we've used to keep away from referendums and big tax increases. We've put money aside to do projects such as this. So we have electrical work at Valley View School for $10,780. We have Bell Electric also doing replace and repair lights at the bus garage for $5,180. We have Alltech Incorporated to install a boiler and glass line storage tank at Valley View, $17,675. We have our Ehrlich & Son Contractors to waterproof a retaining wall at Lakeview Elementary School for $8,500. Master Grinding and Security LLC to install hardware and repair gym and cafeteria doors at Valley School, $9,744. And C&M Door Controls to replace door number 3 at Lakeview for $6,600.
Thank you, Mr. Cass. Any questions on those items?
What was wrong with door number 3?
It was identified as a door that was in need of replacement by our architects and the superintendent. It's the
Where's door
first
number 3?
door, if you're looking at Lakeview School, it's the first door that lets out on the kindergarten playground. So it's one of the doors that comes out of the 2 kindergarten classrooms. It's an original door. All the other ones along that wall have been replaced. This one had not been replaced, and it was beyond its useful life.
And where's the retaining wall?
So at Lakeview, where we used to have 2 of those rubber playgrounds. One was on the right side of the building, one was on the left, if you're looking at the building. The one on the right is down a steep hill. We've had a lot of problems with runoff and waterproofing stuff. We've been doing it over the course of a few years. We eliminated the the rubberized playground. Now we have a mulch area, but to prevent the water from rushing down the hill, we've put some drainage in there, and the last piece of the puzzle is this wall, small wall.
Any other questions?
I have one quick one. The boiler at Valley View, that's obviously not a big boiler. Like, what is that? Like, what's that for?
It's the water heater. It's already been replaced, but the Maris needs to do it on a resolution like this because of using maintenance reserve. But we had to do it right away, obviously,
Right.
because the water heater was broken.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Steve, just a quick question on 2.3 out of curiosity. With Knowles borrowing that mat, are they transporting it on their own?
They come and get it on the Friday before the tournament, and they bring it back on the Monday.
Got it. Thank you.
We've been doing it for a long time. Now with those new mats that are light, it's easy, so it's not a big deal.
Thank you very much. Any other questions or comments? Operations? All right, if not, we'll move on to good of the cause. We're going to do committee reports, correspondence, and discussion items. We'll keep those together. Obviously, we're going to pause once we complete this, and then we're going to wait to begin our strategic planning public portion with the New Jersey School Board. But if anybody has any committee reports, correspondence, or discussion items, please bring them up. Okay, I think all committee reports have been transmitted to the board electronically, so everybody should have access to those. Under discussion items, board meeting highlights. Dr. Forte, did you have any that you had already kept, or?
I have 3. I have, I'll write something about strategic planning and then the other ones that are coming up. The second thing, I'll talk about Damaris's great job getting $2.2 million to replace that HVAC system. And I could do the Kids to Pros for a rental for the summer, or if somebody else have anything else.
I mean, either that or you said the girls won the state, do that.
That's a good point. We should, I'm sure you'll be planning it, Dr. Forte, but we should invite them into a board meeting in the near future.
I talked to Mr. Englishman. We're going to do it again at the end after. Hopefully, we have some other county championships.
That's right.
We'll have them all here
Excellent
together.
idea.
One thing that I just want to make sure we stress about the grant is that all of the units, while we are going to upgrade to AC, right, while we're doing it, all the units that we're replacing are end of life. They've been identified on our long-range facilities plan as beyond their usable life. So the fact that, I don't want everybody to think that we're, just doing air, right? You have to have heat. You have to have ventilation. So the air conditioning part, you don't have to have, right? But we did commit to doing it for a long time. So on a $2.9 million project, getting $2.2 million for things we have to do anyway. These aren't things that we're just doing because we want to have air. It's most of the $2.9 million is something we needed to do anyway. They've been on the radar, just didn't get moved up to the funding while there's other while there are other more pressing issues, like ones that actually don't work, not just ones that are loud or need a lot of, personal touch. So it was I'm super happy that we're getting, that much money to replace something that we needed to do anyway. So I just wanted to make sure everybody understood that.
Yeah, no, I think very well put, Dr. Forte, and I think it's important to note that while we could have pulled that money out of reserve to spend that money on an item that we needed, we know how much of a crunch the budget continues to be and is going to be moving forward, particularly with expenses for buildings and grounds and rentals, and as we move forward with staff negotiations, we know that things are our cost of everything's going up, right? There's nothing we buy that has gone cost down, and the cost continues to rise. So the fact that we were able to save that $2.2 million will go to good use for other projects that are much needed. Like you said, we've got plenty of other items on that list that we continue to, that are at the end of life or very, very close, that are going to come up that we need to spend the money on. So, I mean, we continue to, I continue to be really proud that this district finds ways to do unbelievably large projects for the size of our district, without going to referendum, without having to borrow money and stay out of debt right now. So I appreciate the work from Damaris and her team and everyone on getting that done, because it is hugely, hugely beneficial. That's $2.2 million that we don't have to ask from the taxpayers. Anything else for good of the cause? Okay, we are actually going to move to executive session just to get a few items done that we have to get done. When we come back from executive session, we're going to begin the Yeah, just to clarify, good question, Mrs. Wagner. So from a process standpoint, it's a little bit out of order because of our strategic planning tonight, a little bit different, I should say. So what we're going to do is we're going to interject a executive session right now, because we've got about 25 minutes or so until we begin our public strategic planning session. So once we come out of executive session, we'll begin we'll pick up our agenda with item 6D, which is good of the cause other, which is going to be our strategic planning meeting. And Dr. Forte and myself will begin and introduce the program along with Charlene Peterson. And then after that, we will have, once we complete our strategic planning, we'll still be in public meeting. We will have our second open public comment section. And then we will probably have a need for a second executive session and then adjourn the meeting. So at this point, I don't expect to have any other items that we're going to vote on or take action on for the public meeting. But we will, without any further ado, I will ask Mrs. Wagner, would you mind moving us to executive session?
If there are no objections, I move to convene an executive session in accordance with Section 8 of the Open Public Meeting Act. The purpose of this closed session will be to discuss personnel and student matters. Minutes of the session will be made available to the public when the need for confidentiality no longer exists.
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Wagner. Mr. Capello, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I see no nays, no abstentions. We're in executive session at 7:03 p.m. We'll be back in public session in about 20 minutes. Thank you. All right, good evening, everyone. Well, welcome to Denville School District Strategic Planning Meeting. I appreciate everyone for coming. I really, really do. This is what makes our community so great, is we've got such a diverse group of people that are here today. I see many staff members, administration, police department, leadership from the township, as well as parents and citizens. So I thank you very much for coming. My name is Mike Anderson. I'm the Denville Board of Education president. I've been a proud member of this board for 7 years now. So I think from my calculation, I'm closing in on 200 Board of Education meetings. And I have to say that the most important meetings we have of all of our meetings are these strategic planning meetings. They truly lay the groundwork for what we do for the next 5 years. 5 years ago, we just completed our strategic planning meeting. We did it at Valley View. I remember it very particularly, and As I walked into the building today, and as you did, you may have seen some of the signs on the walls thanking our veterans. And that was part of our Veterans Day program that was here just last week. I had the chance to attend, and those programs come out of our strategic planning meeting from last time. One of the goals from the strategic planning meeting was specifically to create an environment that fosters self-aware, resilient, civically minded, and empathetic citizens. And that's what comes out of these types of meetings. So I thank you for being here. I truly appreciate it. I just want you to know that that this plan, and if you look up at the slides, you can see right on the top is our mission statement that I want you to remember as you think about our meeting and step through kind of these small group sessions that you're going to sit in. It's really about educating and empowering all of our students to excel. And that's what we're asking you guys to think about today. We ask you to think about programs that might be important to you. We hope that you bring great ideas to us. Each year when we do our Board of Education planning for our goals, we do look back at the strategic plan and ensure that our goals are specifically driven by these strategic planning mission goals. So thank you very much. Without any further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Forte. He's going to give us a state of the district talk a little bit about what we've done for the past 5 years and talk about where we're going in the future, but a little bit from him. So thank you, Dr. Forte.
Thank you. And I also have Dr. Cullis to join me. In our last strategic plan, the goals were in these 4 categories. Dr. Cullis is going to talk a little bit about the first 3, and I'll come in and discuss the last one.
It's quite amazing that 5 years have gone by. We started this process, and so much has happened in 5 years. So I'm going to do just a summary of some of the highlights. So under student learning and curriculum, we've updated, because every 5 years we have a cycle, and that throughout that 5 years, the different subject areas are always renewed, and then curriculum's revised, new text materials are purchased, and then we do professional development and implement. So during that cycle, it's been 5 years, so every subject area has already gone through a full cycle, which means that we have renewed all of the curriculum by this point since we met last time. We have all new materials, texts, PD, strategies for students. We have added the honors biology in the middle school. We expanded our gifted and talented program as well as our intervention opportunities. We changed from an IRNS program to a tiered systems of supports and added many more services for our students that are struggling. We included individual monitoring through the Link It program. So we collect all of that data so that our teachers have at their fingertips all of information about their students in their class, all of the academic data, as well as any social emotional data, any of the surveys. If you have kindergarten parents or first grade parents from last year, you filled out surveys about your students, so all that information would be housed. Under well-rounded students, we added a social emotional health period to every day. So our elementary students start out with social emotional health or character education, and our middle school students do it 2 to 3 times per week. We added staff. We added a full-time gifted and talented teacher. We added basic skills teachers, and we also added St. Clair's mental health professionals in each building. We added sensory rooms to our elementary schools to give students opportunities if they needed to go into the sensory room or just change of atmosphere to help their learning. That goes under our Well-Wonder program. We also added orchestra in the middle school, additional enrichment after school, which some of you have signed up for with your students, and during the day as well. We added woodworking, and we added more clubs to both the elementary and the middle school. Under 21st century leadership, each of the schools had their annual school goals. They included student-led assemblies, school pride activities around acronyms. So we have Rocket, Pride, and Reach. So each school has their acronym, and they focus their communities, their individual school communities around their themes. And some of those community meetings that they have even include like their bus drivers. So they come in and meet with the students that are on their bus and discuss, behaviors on the bus and get to really know who their bus driver is and who's in their community, in their school, and in their classroom, and in their grade levels. We also added staff heritage celebration committees who go through all of the commemorative months and provide activities and instructional lessons for the school. And for the community, we created a responsive practices for student equity committee. That's parents, community members, staff, and this year we have one Knowles High School student that has joined. So we have a variety of things, like I will talk a little bit more later, but a lot of things have grown in the last 5 years.
Okay, thank you. And thank you all for coming too. It means a lot to us. One of the big areas of our strategic plan in the last go-round was the facilities and security. Over the last 5 years, the district has completed over $10 million worth of renovations district-wide. As a matter of fact, next month's agenda, at the next agenda in the board meeting, we'll be approving a grant application for $2.2 million in HVAC upgrades that will be paying for a $2.9 million project. We've done work on the roofs. We've done HVAC all along. We've done air conditioning in every classroom, electrical upgrades through all the buildings. We've eliminated all substandard space. When we did our last strategic plan, we used trailers and hallways and all different kinds of areas in our schools for students, and we have eliminated that with some, I guess, creative way of reorganizing some of the library space and some other areas in our district. We've also signed a lease with St. Mary's Schools across the street, that's known now as the Riverview Annex. And I will talk a little bit more about class sizes and St. Mary's a little bit later. And for security, we've put vestibules in each school. We have Class 3 officers in every school. And we have new policies and procedures, training, and we also address mental health. And then I'll talk a little bit about the class sizes later. And now I'll turn it back over to Dr. Cullis to go over some of the things that we've done recently. Jumped the gun. Sorry about that. I have another one. So our next slide has these are some of the things, some of the awards and recognitions our district has won over the last 5 years since we did the strategic plan. All 3 schools were awarded the bronze award for sustainability. All 3 schools were given the Future Ready schools. We had Lakeview and Riverview both get state and national schools of character, and Valley View's working on it for this year. Riverview received the National Blue Ribbon School from the U.S. Department of Education. In August 2021, Realtor.com named Denville one of the best family-friendly suburbs in the United States. Part of that had to do with the schools. In 2020, U.S. Department of Ed named the top 200 New Jersey schools. Riverview finished 7th. Lakeview was 185th. Finance awards, we've received Certificate of Excellence in Financial Reporting in 2019, 2020, and 2021. And Valley View won an award for the Model UN, and also several county championships in boys and girls athletics.
Just preview a few of the programs that we currently have in place. So as we're planning, you realize things that we already are doing, and maybe we can be building off of what we currently do, or maybe even having new ideas. So for elementary, every student gets ELA, which includes reading, writing, phonics, spelling, grammar, and vocabulary. Math, science, social studies, PE, health, technology, art, music, STEM, which is science, technology, engineering, and math, library, Spanish, character ed, and mastery enrichment. So all students receive that. For select programs, and students may choose or may be selected for these programs, we have band, we have Expo, which is our gifted and talented program. We have enrichment, which is our new gifted and talented for K2. We have basic skills, early connections, which is early reading, preschool, peer leaders, ESL, which are English language learners, virtual tutoring, homework help at Peer Place Community Center, and again, ESL, twice. We love it so much, we have it twice. Middle school academic programs that we have. We have the same English language arts, math, science, social studies, PE health, art of writing, so that's different. World language, so they take Spanish or French. Everybody in sixth grade takes a semester of each and then they pick, and they actually can get up through high school levels. Computers, art, music, STEM, woodworking is new this year, so seventh graders have the option of selecting woodworking as one of their electives. Home and consumer science and advisory character education. They can select band, orchestra, choir. Expo is gifted and talented, basic skills, peer leaders, ESL, virtual tutoring, and homework help. So those are things that we currently have in place. We offer 7 high school courses. We offer French 1, French 2, Spanish 1, and Spanish 2, Honors Algebra 1, Honors Geometry, and Honors Biology. So all of those courses do not go in their high school GPA, but they count as prerequisites, so they can move right into, if they go through geometry, they'd move into Honors Algebra 2 as a freshman. Extracurricular. Valley View has 10 sports with over 175 students participating, 19 clubs, band, chorus, strings, musical, and art show. Riverview has 3 clubs to over 250 students participating. Enrichment program, which has over 1,000 registrations per year. That's our after-school program. Our 4th and 5th grade bands, over 225 students participating. We have our related art show and talent shows. Our special services department, so here are the highlights. Our classification rate is 23.66%. The majority of the students receive services within our district. Mental health and behavioral needs continue to go up. Our eligibility under specific learning disability has shown the greatest increase over the last 5 years and is the most prevalent classification. And we also see an anticipated rise in preschool students with disabilities. So it's something to keep in mind as we're planning. We have a lot of different programs that we do offer in district. We have least restrictive to more supportive environments. We have in-class resource. We have a resource center. We have special class programs with multiple disabilities, our ABA programs, preschool disabilities, OT, speech, PT, counseling, social skills. We have BCBAs in our district. There are board certified behavior analysts. We have case management with LDTCs and school psychologists, social workers, speech therapists. We have crisis prevention and intervention with CPI certified instructors. So you can see we offer a lot in this area, but it also is some of the things that we are concerned that it is on the rise, and we want to be aware of that in our planning.
In technology, sorry about that. In technology, we do have one-to-one devices throughout the district. We have upgraded our networks. We have threat protection. We plan to continue to refresh student and teacher devices, security on all our software, doors, phones, and cameras, online textbooks and class materials, assistive technology, and here's our areas where we're growing. More online content, more Wi-Fi devices, more Wi-Fi access points, increased backbone and increased bandwidth, end-of-life support on tech within these 5 years, and internet connection from Valley View, Lakeview, and Riverview Annex. Our district just completed a demographic study with an expert in demographics, same gentleman who works on the New York City Public Schools demographic report, so he has a lot of experience in this. And this report was just completed in January 2022. It shows the information up there about our enrollment, how much we expect it to go up, and I have made some notes down here. These are important notes to consider when we're planning today. St. Mary's is not interested at this point in selling the building, so that's something that we were interested in, but they're not interested in selling it at this point. And we do not lease the second floor of St. Mary's. There is some room for growth in St. Mary's on the second floor. There's 4 classrooms. I put 4.1, that's shorthand, 4 large, 1 small. And the demographic study is already 1% off. So even though the data is only from January 2022, we have 1% more students than we projected for this year already. And a lot of that has to do with turnover in homes. Our demographic study does does consider turnover, but obviously it's a projection, and they do say it could be off by, a few percent. So we're at 1% over. I just want that to be in your mind when we're talking later about in your groups. By 2026, we are expecting an increase of 10.5% increase from our demographic study from where we're at right now. And the reason why it's okay now is because right now, district-wide, we're pretty okay. Like we have just enough space, right? If you look at the Department of Education tells how many people can fit in each room by the square footage and what other things you have in there. Our schools right now are pretty much okay, like right at the limit. We're okay. Like Lakeview's a little over the limit, but only by like 15 kids, and Riverview's a little under the limit by like 10 kids. So, and Valley View's a little over by 7. So in the end, we're pretty flat. This study, along with our long-range facilities plan, which is done by our architect, and then they input the data in the New Jersey Department of Education website, and it's kind of spits out this information. So we can expect a shortage of between 150 and 175 seats as of right now in 2026, but not including that 1% that we're already off. If that 1% continues to grow too, then we can expect some more. And some of the reasons are we have a lot of turnover in houses. So there's a lot of new people moving in. I live a block away, and I'm the oldest person now by far, right? So everybody else is walking around with little kids, and I did that a little while ago. So now it's a younger neighborhood. There's younger kids. There's more families moving in, and the old ones like me are moving out, I guess. I don't know. So we can expect that. There are some new developments on the horizon. One has broken ground at next to Morris Knowles. That's going to have 110, 115 condos, some up to 3 bedrooms. So there will be some students coming in there. There are a few other ones that are in the planning phases, and we're projecting that some of those will be started soon. So some of those things do have an impact on our class sizes, on our students. But it's important to note that a lot of this has to do with our district, like practices, right? Right now, our average class size around the district is 19.3. Our district policy, and this is just a guideline, it doesn't mean you have to do this, but the district guideline is K1, 23 kids per class, grades 2 to 5, 26 kids per class, and grades 6 through 8, 29 kids per class. So we have not approached those maximum numbers for the most part in our district. Again, we're about 19.3 kids per class. K5, we're 19.6 kids per class. So our district practices could absorb some of that, right? Like, for example, what you're all used to, staff and parents, everybody, 19, 20 kids in a class. We could go up to 25, 26 to absorb some of those numbers. That's one thing that could be done, right? I'm not saying that that's the solution, but that is one thing. I just won't want you to walk out here going, oh my God, the sky is falling down because we don't have any room for anybody. We could increase the amount of students in each class. That could be an option. We also could look for additional space. So when you're out there brainstorming and thinking about ideas, this is what we're looking for from you. And this is why it's super important that we have you, because we want to hear your feedback on, is it okay to have 25 kids in a class, or do we want in Denville to stay in these numbers that we have now? So while you're thinking about that, those would be important things to consider. I always like to point this out because this chart, the purple is your tax money. So your tax money is 87% of our budget. And there are districts that have the exact opposite pie. Like the purple would be money from other sources, and that little part would be the money from their local taxpayers. So our districts like us, right? The majority of our money comes from the taxpayers. Good news though, that number used to be 92%. Now it's 87%. So there has been some movement on there with increased aid to districts like ours, the districts that were receiving below what they were supposed to get are now getting what they are supposed to get, but over 7 years. So we're slowly getting to the point to make us whole, where the state will give us our full allotment in 7 years. Okay, Dr. Coe is going to discuss some of our latest test data.
So you can look and see what the comparison is. So this is our 22 NJSLA data. 5 years ago, or really in 2018, this is about what our data looked like before the pandemic. We had significant growth in 2019, and we were really excited about testing in 2020 because we really felt like we had made incredible steps forward, but that's about where we were in 2018. So we are continuing to work forward. We've put in a lot of additional math interventions because that's the area where we need the most work. That's true across the state. You can see from our numbers that we are above the state average by quite a bit in every area, but certainly it is not where we would like to be. Our goals are far higher. We want every student being successful. ELA is our stronger of the two areas, which is a flip from a decade ago. It used to be math was stronger, and then ELA was the second, but now it has flipped. So our focus really has been in math in the last few years, prior and during the pandemic, and it currently is today.
So this is something we put together a few years ago. I've been here, I think it's my 9th year or it's my 10th year. It's my 9th year. So it's my 9th year. So one of the things I wanted to do when I first came here was make like a league for us, right? You have all these different leagues. What's our league? We call this our comparative group. This group is every district that meets these criteria. They have to be K-8. They have to be between 1,000 and 3,000 students. They have to be what's called District Factor Group I, which is a bunch of different metrics that categorizes districts based on demographic data, like affluence, education, things like that. District Factor Group I is the second most wealthy. The J's are the wealthiest. That's your Millburns, Mountain Lakes, Ridgewood. And then the I's, all the districts up here that meet this. And then I also only did from Somerset to Bergen. So basically Central and North Jersey. So there's 12 districts that meet this, all those criteria. And we've been doing this for 9 years just to make sure that we know how do we compete against other like districts. The bottom is the rank of us against the 12 districts. So like our ELA growth percentile, we're the fourth, that's the fourth best. And teachers stay in the district for the same amount of time, fourth best. And so we're from the bottom, top is the 10th most. I think there's a stat that I thought was pretty, number one, look at that, the percent of the budget that goes to instruction, we're number one. So 70% can go toward instruction. One of the things to measure too is our population compare, right? So our median income, the percentage of the population. Some of those things are telling that, and you could compare yourself academically to what's the population like. And that's it. So where we're at, we're doing, and then set you free. No, not really. We're going to have Charlene come back up and explain the rest of the process to try to brainstorm, think of some things that might help us grow in the next 5 years. We're going to do this for the next, the 3 meetings. So, by the way, next one's November 28th. All the documents will be posted on that website.
from New Jersey School Boards and
I can make
Okay, thank you. Sounds better, yep. Peterson, I'm from New Jersey School Boards, and here's my colleague, Matt Lee, and just wanted to again, we were here 5 years ago and couldn't believe how full the room was. And here you are again, somewhere around a little over 100 people registered, so I can to 100 of these, and it's very rare that we ever see the room this full. About Denville and your commitment to the schools, and it really, isn't, well, like they said, to have you here. Your voice is important in this process. Putting this plan together, the board could have put a plan together, the administration could have put a plan together, but it won't look like this plan is going to be built from the ground up with your voices. And, I was happy to see all of the great things that happened as a result of the plan the last time. So just going to take you briefly through just kind of the strategic planning process a little bit, and then help you understand what we are asking from you tonight. So, as we see the economic challenges that we have as a district, it's important that we do the most we can to get it right. So we need to know, the district needs to know what's important to you. And the only way we can get that information is inviting you here and hearing from you directly. So it's, as we're looking at strategic planning, and a lot of times people will say, maybe that kind of sounds like a business thing, or I'm not sure if this is something, that I would like to be part of. What it really is hearing your voice and recognizing that we all need to work together and kind of say those two most important words are student achievement. So how can you, and it's the responsibility of all of us, so how can you help the board, how can you help the administration and the staff come together to help advance the student achievement? So we need your help in doing that. So we recognize, that it is an opportunity to bring the community together. It's an opportunity for your voice to be heard. We're kind of essentially giving you the keys to the car and saying, tell us what direction, help us drive. Where do we need to go? It was mentioned that then this information is what drives the annual goal setting that the board does. So you are helping develop that roadmap. And then we know, as we looked at from the last one from 5 years ago, we now had like a jumping off point of the things that we accomplished that we're now able to move forward with. So when we talk about strategic planning, it really is a process. And we spread this process over 3 meetings that we invite all of the stakeholders to. So the first meeting is tonight, where we're kind of looking at the blue boxes of kind of answering the question, where are we now? So the way that we're doing that and making sure then that we have a common understanding. So we use the information that we just received from the superintendent and assistant superintendent to kind of give us, some basis for when we sit in our small groups, we now can have some informed discussions based on some of what we know, plus the information we learned. But we know then that that's only part of this. The most important part of it is we need to learn from you. So what do you think are the strengths of the district? What do you think the district does really well? And then on the flip side, what are either challenges that the district is facing or opportunities that we can take advantage of? So that's going to be our work tonight, is talking about the strengths and the challenges. And then when you come the next time for the second meeting, then we'll move up to kind of the green box and talk about, if we know where we are now, then the next time we're going to have conversation then about where do we want to be 5 years from now. And then as we continue to kind of, work that path forward, then the last piece of it would be developing that roadmap. If we know where we are now, know where we want to go, how are we going to get there? So that would be developing the goal statements. So these first 2 meetings are actually information gathering. We're gathering data. We want to know what the strengths, what the challenges are, where we want to go in the future. And then that's what's going to drive then the development of those goal statements. So we're starting, everything is built from your feedback and the information that we learn here. And then that's pretty much our involvement in this process. We say our involvement is the what, kind of saying what is the direction we need to go? What is that big picture? What is that roadmap? And then we leave the very last piece of this to the staff then to kind of tell us the how, to develop the action plans of saying what are those specific steps that are going to help carry out the what that we help determine. So we're going to provide the direction, and then they'll provide the steps to tell us how they're going to carry out that what that we help develop. So this just kind of says that same thing, only putting the dates in it, so we just keep reinforcing that. And one of the things that's important about this process is we love that all of you are here today, and the process is set up so that people that aren't here today can come the next time, and people, if you can only come, whatever meets your schedule, we want to be as flexible as possible and hear as many voices as possible. So the feedback that you help developed tonight and the information from tonight will be put on the district's website so that anyone who was not able to be here tonight can have access to all of that information, so that if when they come next time, they can feel comfortable understanding the work that was done at the previous meeting. So, we had mentioned or started out the presentation with your district mission statement. And, we say mission statement should be something simple that you can understand, that kind of helps guide our work. So I would say that this is about as concise as you can be, right? To do that. And, all of you have an agenda and on the back of the agenda at the very top is the mission statement. So that way it is always part of the work that you are doing as you're sitting in your small groups and we're having conversations. We should make sure that we're supporting that mission statement and advancing that mission statement. So now comes the important part. What is your work for tonight? So your work for tonight, we started out here in this large group, and on each one of your agendas is a table number on there. And then you'll see, so if you don't have an agenda with that, go to the check-in table and get one. And then you'll see table numbers spread out around here. So we are just kind of randomly going to break into small groups so that then we can have that conversation about the strengths and the challenges or opportunities. We'll ask each group to kind of come up with a top 10. If you have more than that, if you have less than that, it's just more important that we're having the conversations about the district. So this is just kind of, a sample. And one of the things that you'll find when you get in your groups is sometimes things that could be a strength can also be a challenge. I mean, I was just thinking about the class size that, we just heard talked about, that you're at a good place now, but to keep that might be a challenge, right? Or like sometimes with technology, sometimes we've made great advancements in it, but then keeping up with it sometimes is a challenge. So as you have your conversations, think about things that, we do really well or that are strengths, but also recognize sometimes those same things might be challenges. So when you get into your small groups, one of the things you'll see in each one of the tables is there are blank name tags. So you can go ahead and fill out a name tag and then take the time then to start out by introducing, have everyone at the table introduce themselves, just kind of say what your connection to the district is, perhaps how long you've been in town, just some basic information so you kind of have a common understanding who's at your table. That's why we try to do it randomly, hoping that you have staff and students and community members and parents and kind of all different stakeholders able to have these great conversations about your district. Then importantly, when having those conversations, need to make sure that the conversation is at the level of not a particular grade, not about what's happening, say, with your students or your children or a particular school, but think about wearing that hat that says, I'm responsible for every single student in the Denville School District. These are my children. This is who I'm responsible for. So my conversation needs to be at that high level that talks about every single student and the entire district. So wearing that hat from that big level, because that's the picture we need to get from you. That's the level of information we need from you in order for this plan to be successful. And then you're going to be in tables of about 8 to 10 people. So, just make sure that we want to hear from everyone, right? So make sure then that everyone gets a chance to talk at your table. And if you haven't heard from someone, kind of just make sure that we're giving everyone the chance to participate and then come together, like I said, on your top 10 list. So you'll kind of see around the big yellow sheets kind of hanging. So each group has a yellow sheet. In the container there is a marker. So some lucky person then can be the person who's going to write down for your group. You'll see on the back of the agenda is kind of a scratch sheet so that everyone can kind of keep their notes if you want to, but recognize that the output that we would like from your table or from your group is someone having filled out the yellow sheet that represents the top 10 strengths and top 10 challenges or opportunities from your table. We're going to give you about 50 minutes to kind of spend in your group to have the conversation. And then we're going to come back together like this, and then we'll have each group report out on what their group's findings were. So again, ask that you identify someone in your group to be then the spokesperson for your group. I also can't forget to talk about the wonderful snacks and things that are in the back, right? So before you go back into your group, before you go into your groups, if you want to grab something to eat, something to drink, go ahead and do that. And then kind of head over to the tables. So you can see we have starting here, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I think, and then it goes like 6, 7, 8, 9, and then 10. So we're going to go ahead. It is like 8:15 now. So like I said, about 50 minutes. So about 5 after 9, we're going to pull you all back. And then Matt and I will be walking around to see how you're doing and see if you have any questions. So thank you. Okay, everyone, we did it. We're done. So every group has finished their work. So if I can have everyone's attention now, we're going to go ahead and start the reporting out process. So you can just kind of tell by kind of the chatter in the room, right, and the enthusiasm in the room, that this is really what this is all about, and being able to have these conversations. So we recognize that we are kind of time pressed here, right, that it's 9 o'clock. So we really appreciate the work that everyone did. So in the reporting out, we're going to have the representative from each group come up, but think about, you have 2 minutes. We're going to limit it to 2 minutes. So each group kind of think about your highlights, think about what it is, that you would like to say. If you're going to be reporting out for your group, kind of start making your way this way. And we're just going to kind of have the sheets come out in the order that they got here. So the very first table that finished was table number 4. So whoever is reporting out from table 4, if they could come up here and again, kind of think about 2 minutes. So be concise, but recognize that I'm going to be typing these up exactly as you wrote them, and it's going to go on the website. So you will be able to see the raw data from everyone's sheets. So if we don't hear everything that's on here tonight, you will be able to see it and have access to it. So how's this working with the microphone? I don't know if you need to speak in here.
Thank you. Okay, I'll focus on our strengths that we discussed, our SEL teams, bringing parents back in, discussing wellness things. We noticed that our benchmarks are pretty successful and that we want to continue on that path. And that was something good. Security is one of our strengths here. Communications with families is very good. And our student leadership is really a strength for us. The kids create their own assemblies, their peer mentor groups. They know how to ask for what programs they want to have as extras. Things that we saw as challenges and opportunities. teaching multiple intelligences. Where are you, Jamie? Okay. Okay, well, teaching kids how they learn and enforcing how they, you guys know what it is.
Helping understand, like, more self-aware, what type of, yeah, I just want to pop on there. I love it.
Yeah, just making sure that our teachers understand multiple intelligences and how that can drive the curriculum, and so that our students can be more self-aware of what their strengths are, and so therefore they understand their own learning styles and how they can best learn all of our academics.
Also to reinforce, thank you, Jenny, reinforce real-world life skills, communication skills, financial literacy, nutrition, wellness, jobs of the future, community involvement, getting more community groups into the schools, after hours, family involvement, events, programs, things that are both free and that we can get money from, other events coming in. And then lastly, to continue to enforce student resilience and, the parents, teachers, staff, self-awareness of how they are interacting with each other. Okay, 2 minutes.
Okay, great. Let's hear it for table 4. Thank you. Okay, table 3 is coming up next, and then table 9, be ready, because you're after table 3, so, yeah.
Got a lot, sorry. 10 on each. Great. All right, so the strengths are, we were all really impressed with the increased mental health focus that Denville had for all the students. The student leadership and the social emotional learning that was shown. The class size is a strength, it's the smaller class sizes. There's a very strong teacher retention in Denville, which is really nice to see that the same teachers are here year after year and there's not a strong turnover. The leadership, the administration leadership is a very strong group of individuals. Denville has a good community support from the community as well as the parents supporting the school district. I've had this really good communication from all parties, teachers, guidance counselors, administrators, all will get back in touch with you within a certain amount of time to discuss your child with you. They have a very good academic offerings that are given to the students. During COVID, just Denville did an amazing job with the management of the crises and everything else that went on with that, so that was just a big plus. Very active PTAs, and someone added great staff down at the bottom with some smiley faces, so Denville's really strong with a lot of these things. Some of the challenges we came up with, I noticed Dr. Forty mentioned the special education needs might be needing to be increased, so we put that on there. There was a discussion about the early busing for the students. So Valley View has a really early, some students have a really early pickup time, while some others, I know my child gets picked up really close and then school starts. But the early bus times we discussed can result in lack of appropriate sleep for the middle school students, and they're the ones that really need it. But also, I know some students don't have really great bus stops on certain roads, and I know it's just unavoidable, but it's just how it happens, so we put that as a challenge. You have great class size, but there's going to be a class size growth over the next 5-10 years, and the concern was equality across the district. So, some classrooms in Lakeview could have like 25 kids, where in the same grade in Riverview could have 15. So we were discussing make sure it's equal across the district, and then that also falls into with the student-teacher ratio. We discussed how great it is that there's honors classes offered at the middle school and that they were able to be scheduled in, but we can't forget the arts, to build them into
the day, so the students don't have to make a choice between after-school activities and orchestra, or chorus or band, just to have them scheduled in during the school day would, I think, keep the enrollment. If you have a huge enrollment at the elementary schools, you could have a huge enrollment at the middle school. We talked about the increasing the math aptitude, meeting or exceeding math standards, or maybe offering, and this segues off groups one, where you have like a community night. You could have math nights where the parents come out and the teachers could teach the parents math, especially the new math. But with the increasing of class size and possibly scheduling in the arts into the school day, it does have a space concern, which could become larger classes, could be a safety issue. It also could be a learning issue with the different levels in the classroom, which, you know, and we added the word redistricting at the very bottom.
That's usually a naughty word. Okay, thank you to table 3. Now if we could have table 9 up, and then table 5, be ready, you're next.
All right, I could be long-winded, so I got the stop clock on. Need the mic. We felt that, I'll start with the positive, the strengths are definitely the physical school security. And anytime you see something tragic on the news and you show up to your school the next morning, whether it's Lakeview, Riverview, Valley View, you see that officer, that armed officer there. So I know that makes me as a parent feel good. Instruction, academics overall, class sizes we're comfortable with, but as I think she just mentioned, and being a local realtor, more and more people are coming to Denville. And eventually the older people will move away and people with kids will come. So we like our class sizes, but that I think also can turn into an opportunity to bring more teachers in so that those class sizes can stay the same. Teacher resources we thought was a strength, upgrade of technology and smart boards, et cetera, et cetera. Enrichment programs, we happen to really love those enrichment programs in my family at Lakeview, just giving the kids a little extra after school programs. Teacher accessibility, we emailed with our third graders teacher today, and just, I mean, to the point that you're like, aren't you supposed to be teaching my kid right now? And you're emailing with me, but we love it. That's not a complaint at all. That's not a complaint at all. We love it. Community oriented, Denville in general, child eccentric, new teacher support in general, and teacher care about delivery curriculum. Yeah, we thought that was a strength. As far as challenges or opportunities, which I think why we're all here, to throw what we think in the, I don't know how long I've been, but I'll finish up. Feeling safe at school emotionally. I mean, I know personally that's what brought me here, some recent events. The kids just don't seem like they were feeling safe. Kids saying things like, bad things happen in the bathroom at Valley View, so they don't want to use the bathroom. You got boys holding it all day. That's inexcusable. Space for future to maintain class sizes. Again, we think that the class sizes are good now. We want to maintain those, so that's an opportunity or challenge. Upscaling professional development for teachers and staff for constant use in classroom. World languages, I mean, it seems Spanish and French are offered, but maybe some other languages we could, instead of having one teacher, I think float amongst the elementary schools doing languages, maybe get some more teachers that can do that. More music. In our group, we had a musician, and I know that one of his sons is definitely into music. So maybe just some more instrument and lessons for music. Bring more, more parent involvement. I see it at coaching, and I'm sure it's very similar. And I mean, I've never been to a Board of Ed meeting. I've never been on PTA, and it just seems that 90% of the work, whether it's coaching or whatnot, it gets done by 10% of the people. So just more involvement from the parents. I know all parents, the best ability is availability. Not everybody has that flexible. And in our household, my wife works for her father. I'm a realtor. I don't punch a clock. So I'm accessible, and hopefully more parents who have the availability can be true to themselves and step up and fill their role. And more affordable options for before and after care. Sorry.
Way to go. Thank you to table 9. Okay, let's table 5 come up, and then table 1, be ready, you're next.
Okay, so our list looks a little shorter than everybody else's, but I really feel like we're echoing pretty much what has been said in the previous couple speeches up here. So we'll start with strengths. So SEL, basically we found it as a strength and a challenge / opportunity. The mental health and resources that our schools offer are huge. As we know, our kids do like morning meetings and different things at each school, but we also found that there can be room for improvement always, as COVID hit, everything hit, there's always room for improvement. So that's why we have it in both categories. We have as a strength that the teachers, it doesn't say here, but we meant teachers, are flexible and adaptable. So basically they are finding what the students need, and they are able to change either the way they teach or the way they react, anything they are doing in the classroom to the kids. So staff puts in 101%. Ms. Pillion, can you just own that one for me, please? A little bit extra. Yeah. So the staff, so I do have to agree. I have kids in, 2 different schools right now. I know you can all hopefully agree that they put in 101%, and that's huge. The staff putting in the effort is a huge part of an education. Recognizing and celebrating diversity, we actually have it in the strength right now, because I do hear that most the schools are working toward putting in place more diverse, assemblies and more diverse programs, and kind of assimilating it into everyday things in the school. Another strength is academic support and options. So that's basically what we offer the children academically. The classes, challenging them, we found it as a strength. Okay, I'll go over to challenges and opportunities. So we did kind of catch on the Lakeview Riverview disparity, the number at which they were ranked. We kind of thought maybe the district could look at the different, the differences in each of the schools and figure out why there's such a difference, what can be done to kind of even the playing field for the same district. Also, attracting and retaining a diverse staff, which is something we thought might be a challenge at this point, something we could look at for the future. Arts availability during the school day, which I just heard, I think someone, 2 speeches before me talking about also that kids learn differently. Kids find different aspects of arts, dancing, painting, anything different to be offered during the school day is something that they don't have right now and should be offered to every child, not at a cost, not after school when there's, a possibility they don't have a ride or the funds. Sustainability at Lakeview, Riverview, and similar to what Valley View has now, which is recycling, some sort of program to help with that at both the lower schools, I guess, we have. And then an increase in population is one of our challenges, which, sorry, I must have missed one up here. Physical space is something we are worried about for the future, which I think was kind of a theme once we mentioned that it's going to be growing in the next couple of years, and the space is very limited, and nobody really wants their kid at full capacity with one teacher. So space and class size is a huge issue. Thank you.
Thank you. You're just adding me time. So, okay, sorry. Okay, so table 1 is coming, and then I think 8 is next.
So we're going to start off with the strengths. One of the strengths that we noticed is like the communication. Basically, we feel that's kind of strong between the schools and the community.
So next one, safety and security. I know this was talked about a lot in the previous groups, but it does feel good. I do feel safe at school. Obviously having police officers there, just the teacher, the staff. So generally just good security. Feel very safe at school.
And the next one is the respect between the staff and the students. We feel that the teachers at all the schools make it easy for you to be open with them and talk with them and share your ideas with them, and that it's just kind of makes it easier to learn in general. So
Also students feel happy at school. which is so like I guess just well I guess yeah okay I don't think there's anything else to explain about that. But, okay, and then there's also the extracurricular activities. Um, Also, maybe giving students the chance to maybe create even more clubs in the future, or I guess we were talking about before. Also, like for students who might need extra help with things, there could be a program that's created after school for that purpose as well.
And so now we'll move on to the challenges and opportunities. So we feel like the academic standing, we could work on a little bit, because yeah, like so what we saw the charts earlier about like the math, maybe we need a little bit more work on it. Whether that's kind of like with staying after school with the teachers, or asking them, or being able to spend more time with them, and be able to ask them more about like if you're stuck on something. So maybe we could like expand a little bit on that so that we could make it easier for us in math or any other subject that we might need a little bit of help on. So
Go fast. Oh, and along those lines, there's an opportunity to build peer relationships, right, within the school community.
Yeah.
And increase the special services support staff, as others have mentioned, and related service professionals. To the next one.
There's also increase. What is it?
Increase supports for math.
Oh, increase. Yeah. Okay. So increase supports for math. Let's say.
Locate space to keep the class sizes.
Oh, yep. Yeah, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's true.
Thank you. We always love when the students are the ones reporting out. That's kind of the best testament to how your district does. So table 8, and then after that, was it 6? Table 6 then will be next.
Okay, so we talked about a lot of the same things everybody just discussed, but particularly security was the big one that we mentioned. Specifically, one of the things that our teachers were really happy with was the implementation of our 911 Inform app. The teachers were really happy with the application of that and how it worked for potential emergency situations. Everyone's very happy at the presence of our police officers. Additionally, we're very happy with our technology department and our one-to-one devices. SEL growth. Our parents were very happy with the advisory sessions for SEL. Some of the things are challenges and opportunities. We were talking about security particularly, and how a lot of our drills are planned and very structured. Our teachers criticized that maybe it would be better if we had unexpected times and how to plan and how to teach our students what to do. Let's say if there's an emergency situation while one's at recess, if students are in the restroom, if they're outside, lunch, gym, those unexpected situations, and how do we deal with security in those situations. We talked a little bit about cybersecurity and what we could do about potentially getting MFAs for all of our systems. We also talked about how we need more life skills across all the different grade bands. So some of the areas that students are lacking in that the parents thought students needed to grow were, maybe like financial literacy. The woodworking thing was talked about as a strength as well. And then some of the teachers in our groups advocated that maybe a challenge that we need to improve is investing in our teachers, maybe looking for other ways to provide more funding so that teachers can go back to get more education. Another area that we were looking for improvement was possibly having more full-time teachers. There was a discussion about how part-time positions seems to be ineffective in certain places. And then again, like a lot of the other groups talked about, we were talking about increasing the related arts. Particularly one of our parents advocated for music as being one of her areas of concern.
Okay, so now we'll have table 6, and then table 2 is coming after.
Okay. So we also mentioned that safety and security, including the physical safety of our students and the emotional safety of our students, was a strength. We also talked about our professional development and the resources we have for staff. We talked about how we've more recently been doing a lot of training on inclusive schools for our staff and how that's been a real benefit to helping increase our awareness of diversity and helping our kids be more aware and more inclusive in the schools, as well as we mentioned other resources such as related services and our TSS process and those services. We also mentioned that individualized attention to students was a strength, which we talked about how that was actually a big focus in our last strategic planning, so it's pretty cool that we're now identifying it as a strength. We mentioned the sense of the community, that we feel there's a really strong sense of community in Denville. Our athletic program is strong, and staff retention. For our challenges, we talked about the rising enrollment, continuing to promote the inclusive schools. With that rising enrollment, we see more diversity possibly coming into the district, so we want to continue to build on what we're doing in that area. Also folding it into the curriculum and continuing to reflect on the diversity materials. So we just want to keep building on that. We also, like some of the other groups mentioned, thought about a more robust arts program, and there was a heavy focus on the music program and building on that. Since we have so many strengths in so many other areas, we thought we could also build on the music program. Also, the age of the facilities and diversity of staff were considered challenges, and their potential for more needs in the district with this rising enrollment and more developments coming in. There could be more needs, more special services needed.
So 2 should be coming up now, and then 10 will be next?
Alrighty, so the things we looked at were, in the high school, you have the high school programs at the Valley View level. That's a great thing for the district. That 1-to-1 technology ratio, the tiered systems of support for the kids that need help, that's there, that's a great thing. Security, like a lot of folks are saying, is another good possibility. The quality of our school resource officers and our class 3 officers is a big thing, as well as just the quality of our staff in general. It was literally said, you know, from the bus drivers, through the administrative assistants, through the administration, to the teachers. They all make a difference in our kids' day every day, and that's something we're recruiting the right people, and we need to keep doing that. Looking at economies of scale and how we do projects, it seems like the board and everyone is kind of picking the right projects to meet the needs of the district. Not too much, not too little. We're finding those right things and how to maximize our resources. And social emotional learning. It's really that big support to our kids, and it's making a difference, especially in COVID. You talk to kids that worked in or went to other districts, they're not doing as well as our kids are doing here. It's a big thing and a big thing to say about the district. So when we look at our challenges and opportunities, it's that technology balance. If our kids are on a computer every day, all day, should they be doing a paper worksheet or a computer at home? That's something we discuss. We also talked about ensuring the right supports remain for all the students, for the kids that need extra help or may not. So that's where it ties in that tiered support system. It's also striking the balance of information to students. It was literally said there's not enough time in the day for the teachers to get all the material. We have to find that balance and ensure that the folks have the right time to do what they need to do. Looking at security, as much as a strength, it can be an opportunity. It's changing. That threat matrix evolves every day. How are we changing and addressing those needs as we go? We like the class sizes. It's making the right number. It's making an impact on our kids every day. You know, looking at civic engagement, volunteerism. How do we have to get the kids being, as we've talked about, part of this community here and making sure they're good citizens for the future? Looking at your physical space challenges. You know, you have buildings, we have limited spaces. We're getting creative, as it was said, but creativity will only get us so far, and eventually you're going to run out of that creative space. So what do we have to do to meet the next 5 years, 10 years, 15 years? You know, what can you do to set the groundwork to meet those challenges? Looking at your non-traditional partners. You know, are there different groups to engage with? The Town Beautification Committee. You know, can you bring in business leaders from the community? How can you engage our students in learning beyond the classroom? Looking at sustainability, you know, we got a bronze award, that's great. How do we get to the next level? How do we get to that silver? How do you get to that gold? What are we going to do to get there? And the last thing that was mentioned as one of our last things, but it's an important thing. How are we building some of those outdoor education spaces, places for people to go outside of the classroom? You know, they want to get some air, they want to see some things. You learn differently in different spaces. It's how are we going to engage and get those opportunities and build those so there are opportunities for all our kids to learn every day.
Okay, table 10 should be coming up, and then table 7 will be following.
So for our strengths, we just had that we had a lot of different awards that the schools have been doing good things. And it's been recognized that the community in general, outside the school and within the school, it's welcoming, it's involved, that there's strong leadership, that everything starts from the head down. You know, it starts with the superintendent to the principal, down to the vice principal and to the staff. And when you're seeing good things happening, it's the vision from the top and how it's presented below. The security, we also were very happy with. And I've heard neighboring districts talk about Denville's kind of been in the forefront for the security with the Class 4 officers, as well as the training for the teachers. The technology, that the students have access to what they need, that there's quality educators. The vision, again, of where the district wants to go, that's been strong and been leading its way. The ELA program, the units of study, the writing and reading program in particular, that's following the Lucy Calkins, and that we're just happy with it, and that the kids are producing a lot of work. That they have the private education foundation, supportive PTAs that help give services, the character education programs, and even that we have things like the sensory rooms and ways to support the children. So then challenges and opportunities, the building the space and the student ratio, although the student ratio is nice now. I cringe when I hear that 26 number or 29 number of kids in a classroom. And so meeting that in the forefront and looking for the space that we are going to need. Mental health being a huge one, as great as we think the social emotional learning is. COVID and society in general, social media, everything like that is going to be continuing to put more stress on the students' mental health, and looking for possibly more support staff, counselors, psychiatrists within the schools. The math and the critical thinking, we saw that in the test scores, but also getting the kids with their number sense and supporting them early on and making sure they're getting enough math time as well. Finding the balance between technology and social skills and worksheets even, paper and pen. Learning loss due to COVID, how that's being addressed, and how we're kind of trying to fight that off earlier than later. The security, as much as that's a strength, someone else talked about adapting the security for the changing society and possible new threats. Someone in our group too felt very strongly about civics, which I heard another group mention too, but also making sure students are aware of the democratic process and how being involved affects everybody. And then finally, the clinical staff to student ratio, which was just getting maybe possibly more counselors in the schools to help support.
Table 7.
Hello, I'll keep it quick because a lot of it is similar to what other groups had said, but for our strengths, we said that there's a positive community across the board between parents and PTA and the foundation, and teachers feeling supported by administrators. Again, support from all on that same token. Another strength was that we are very child-centric across the board. Parents, teachers, administrators, everyone kind of has the same goal of putting the student first. We said another strength was the small class sizes right now. We said another strength was the relationships, again, across the board. The strong ELA growth through the Lucy Calkins programs as another strength. We talked a lot about the DALA program and how the parents felt that that was very helpful for them, as well as teachers, for kind of closing in gaps. And also just having the different programs to support students, whether it was the extra tutoring lists and all of that. A lot of the, we had parents who also liked the co-teach model as well. And another strength was across the board, the social emotional learning focus. Some challenges and opportunities that we spoke about was that there's, we kind of tried to tie it with our strengths of kind of, because there's so many things that we're doing well, how we can kind of build upon that. So one of the opportunities we saw was more outreach post-COVID towards the community. We also talked about, because there is an increased enrollment, how we can kind of maintain those smaller class sizes without jeopardizing space. We talked about, a couple of the parents in our group had talked about kind of that transition to middle school, of how we can kind of use that transitional time from elementary school, and what we can kind of do to bridge that gap towards the middle school as well, and kind of come together as a team to do that. We also talked about, again, the parents were speaking about streamlined communication on one platform. They spoke about how it would be helpful to have either like a class dojo or something that's universal to keep communication, universal. For another challenge and goal was to close those math gaps, maintaining staff, and the last one was to grow the social emotional learning curriculum, and something that we spoke about was, again, transitioning that to the middle school, of making it more of a curriculum that could build from year to year and start kind of younger in kindergarten and then grow into the middle school years.
So again, just wanted to thank everyone. I hope, we saw that there was a lot of common things, right, that we saw come out from all of the groups, but then we also had, some individual thoughts and differences. Like I said, I'm going to type all of this up, and it will be exactly as each group has on their sheets, and we'll have that available on the website. And then we invite all of you to come back in 2 weeks on November 28th, where we're going to continue to move this process forward and talk about the future. So again, it's getting late here, so I just wanted to really thank everyone. This turnout was just amazing, and hope we see you again. So thank you.
All right, thank you everyone for joining us. We just have to complete our public meeting here, so appreciate if you want to join us, you're welcome to stay, but I understand it's getting late. So thank you very much for joining us. We are going to open to our second open public comment section. Seeing that most people are leaving, I'm going to avoid reading the entire comment, and I'm just going to open at 9:45 p.m. If anybody would like to make a comment, please come up to the microphone, state your name and address for the record. Seeing no one coming up to the microphone, I'm going to close our open public comment section at 9:46 p.m. And I'll ask Mr. Kim if you move it to executive session. Dr. Forte, can you just confirm? I know personnel. Is there anything else?
Personnel is it.
I move to convene an executive session in accordance with Section 8 of the Open Public Meetings Act. The purpose of this closed session will be to discuss personnel issues. Minutes of this session will be made available to the public when the need for confidentiality no longer exists.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Kim. Mr. Capello, before I ask for action on the motion, I'll just note that we will not be taking any additional action post executive session. And with that, all in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? None. Any abstentions? None. We're in executive session at 9:46 p.m.